need the team to beat in the Eastern Conference when in your second game together as a new bunch, you beat the #1 team in the conference? When as your second game together as a new bunch, you shoot 55% against one of the best defensive teams in the NBA for the last several years. And two things were evident as well last night, one for each team. Number one, the Nets can get a stop when they need to. You don't have to be a tremendous defensive team to win the championship. You gotta be decent. You got to be decent, and you have to be capable of getting a stop in key moments. They showed that they can do that. And number two, and it's related, Milwaukee's go-to guy is Chris Middleton, and that's the problem. All right, as good as he is, he's not on the upper tier level. He's not even second tier star in this league. Giannis had one shot in the last 3 minutes, and this is not new, but it was just evident last night. One shot in the last 3 minutes, and it was a put-back dunk that wasn't even called for him. Chris Middleton took 5 shots in the last 3 minutes. When Chris Middleton's your go-to guy, you got issues in the playoffs, because in the playoffs, it comes down to you having guys, or at least a guy, that when all else fails, he can go and get it. In a 7-game series, they know your plays. They know your calls. They know what you want to do with the basketball. And even though you may know what I want to do, you know my tendencies. You know when I dribble 2 times with my left hand, I'm going up with a jumper. You still can't stop me. Milwaukee has 0 players like that. Philadelphia has maybe one. Maybe. And I'm giving Embiid some credit. I'm being generous. Boston's got a couple, but they're not as good as the Brooklyn guys. Brooklyn's got 3 unstoppable scorers, period. So when all else fails, when your defense knows what we're doing, when everything's broken down, any one of those guys can either get their shot or draw a double or triple team, and somebody's getting an open shot, and they got shooters. And so, look, all that said, I can't ignore the elephant in the room, the million-dollar question, and I'll get to it after you guys speak. But, yeah, Kyrie Irving, how he fits in strategically, mentally, and emotionally is the absolute only question around this team as to whether or not they win the East. That's it. That's the only one.
Well, let's sit Kyrie to the side right now, and let's talk about last night. You just said you got guys that can create, and people are going to be wide open. They got shooters. So do we not want to talk about Joe Harris? 5 for 7 last night from the 3-point line. Oh, my goodness. A lot of people are asking, well, how is this going to fit? How is he going to work within this offense? Well, look, he's wide open, and he's knocking down shots. For them to start this way, with no chemistry, they can't even run their offense right now, and you're getting 30 points a night, 40 points here from KD and James Harden. You have to say that not only this team is the best in the East, but potentially in the NBA. I'm telling you, Nick, when we get to the finals, whether it's the Clippers or the Lakers, they have real problems because nowadays it's about offense. I know you have this big thing about defense, but Chris, you were preaching, you were talking about they can just get a stop at any moment. That's all we need. And you're talking about going against a team. They did this against a team that have 2 of the premier defensive players. You have what's his name? Giannis and
Drew
Holiday. You have Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Did you see Drew Holiday last night? Right. He looked good, and they still dropped 30 and 34 points. Come on, man. You got to come on to this side. It's okay.
Preach.
Listen.
Nick, there's time.
Broussard, Brandon, listen. The Nets would be the unquestioned favorite in the Drew League. They would, no doubt about it, would run the court at Rucker all day long. But if you have to get stops, they're screwed. So a few things here. One is they're currently the 19th ranked defense in basketball, and if Kyrie comes back, I'm sure he'll help them get closer to 29th. 2, Broussard said, oh my God, the first 2 games together, 2-0 and look great. If only there was an example of a team like that. Oh, wait, there is. One Broussard knows well. Last year's LA Clippers. First 2 games together.
Oh, no.
Beat the Lakers.
Low blow.
Blow out the Warriors. Oh, no. Oh,
Low blow.
It's true, though. It is true. And, Chris, you have been covering the
They had
league
a
since the
training camp
merger,
together.
correct? We'll start
Since
with
you
the
were in
merger.
your pro
Since when
kids.
Broussard started covering. Yeah. Since the merger, one time a champion has been below average defensively. Once. And it might be the most dominant team ever, the 01 Lakers. They could have been better defensively. They didn't need to be. They didn't care. They had prime Shaq, who was 35 and 20 whenever he wanted it. One time since the merger, a below average defensive team has won the title. And so while Broussard can respond, I watched that fourth quarter. I saw a lot of this, and we can show it. Wide open, uncontested dunks, wide open shots, and easy putbacks because they have no rebounding either. So if you think, this is fourth quarter, national television, MLK Day, we really just can't be bothered to defend. If you think this team can win 4 rounds in the playoffs playing defense like this, more power to you. I've never seen it done. There's no precedent for it being done. I don't think it's possible.
Nick, a few years ago, there was no precedent for a jump shooting team winning the championship. The game's changed, son. It has. I mean, look, and I'm not saying you just ignore defense. You're right. Their defense has to get better. But the NBA has changed. And you talked about their rebound. They actually out-rebounded Milwaukee last night. So they'll be, look, they're not going to be the Detroit Pistons bad boys defensively. But they will improve on that end of the floor. These guys are committed to winning
Why
a
will they improve?
championship.
Just say why they'll improve. Why will they improve defensively? Explain.
Even if you don't have great individual defenders, and DeAndre Jordan can protect the rim to some degree. Kevin Durant is a good defender. All right, Bruce Brown is a good defender. All right, they've got guys that can. It's team defense. It's one of those assistants. It's not going to be D'Antoni, but needs to incorporate a team defensive concept with them. Like I said, that's not the biggest question. The biggest question is how does Kyrie fit in?
Okay, so the Kyrie question is interesting because for all this 2 games talk together, Durant and Harden have played about 200 games together. So I don't know how much of it is like, only 2 games. Like, how are they going to get Joe Harrison? Well, Joe Harris is just sitting there draining threes. So I'm not buying in that this is like that worrisome. And to the rebounding point, and I hate to support Nick, but I got to be honest about the statistic. They did get more rebounds. Milwaukee took like 20 more shots because they had so many turnovers. So like winning the rebound battle is point Nick. But, Nick, to Broussard's point, I'm like an arbitrator here. To Broussard's point, I call it like the PC problem, Pat Connaughton, because you saw when Milwaukee would get a bucket, then Harden comes down like bang, bang, bang. Like, well, this is just going to be, this is 7 seconds or less again. Here we go. Pat Connaughton gets cooked, and Harden's getting layups.
Guys,
yeah, they're gonna score a lot.
I've been on TV for 5 years saying Harden is one of the 4 greatest pure scorers in the history of the league. Durant is one of the 15 greatest players in the history of the league, vast majority of that because of his offensive game, and he might one day be a top 10 guy. Nobody questions that. But they are already relying on fossilized DeAndre Jordan for 38 minutes a night. 38 last night because they got nothing else. And Broussard can say the game done changed, son. But the fact of the matter is the game will never change to a level where you don't need to be good defensively. It won't.
You keep talking about minutes with DeAndre Jordan. Like last night was a night they tried to make a statement. All their guys played top minutes. They tried to make a statement.
Yeah, but right.
And
but
the
my
reason
point
why
is DeAndre Jordan shouldn't be a top guy.
side. If you watch the game, the game last night, DeAndre Jordan was mic'd up, and all he was talking about was defense. So you know that's a point of emphasis. I think they're going to improve because it's a point of emphasis.
Yeah, telling people where to go because